What's up, everyone? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvda, ES, NQ, and many tickers out there. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic calendar moving forward, talk about big factors for the markets, and what you should be watching for as time progresses. But let me just mention that I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total. And the offer ends very soon in just about 3 days from now. Anyways, for SPY, we have a very, very nice looking formation right over here. We got a nice double bottom that's actually forming a nice W-like pattern. And in order for this to continue, we have to break some key resistance. As of right now, the market has potential to push higher if we break that resistance. So I'm going to break down what the technicals are suggesting, what you should be watching for approaching tomorrow. As a very, very important reminder, please note we have a very important week ahead of us. For Monday, there's not really much coming out. We just have the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But at 11:30 a.m., we have the 3-month and 6-month bill auctions coming out that could cause some volatility. But nothing too crazy for Monday is coming out. But just remember, for Tuesday, we have the JOLTS job openings and job quits, very important employment numbers. And then for Wednesday, July 31st, we have the FOMC meeting. We have Jerome Powell giving a speech. And it's going to be very, very important for how things are going to continue from here on out. So I can't wait to see what Jerome Powell says. If he does mention anything about a potential cuts that's coming for the September meeting or anything like that, if he hints at it, the market could actually see a very, very crazy move. So get ready for some crazy volatility approaching Wednesday, especially Wednesday on that day. So I can't wait to see what ends up happening for then. And then don't forget that for earnings, we also have some very important ones coming out. Tuesday through Thursday are going to be very, very important. Specifically for Tuesday, we have SoFi, PayPal, AMD, and Microsoft, big ones, especially after the market closes. Then for Wednesday, we have Meta and ARM. And then Thursdays, when we have big tech earnings, Amazon, Apple, and Intel. Apple's going to be a huge one. Can't wait to see what we end up seeing for the share price. It's going to be very, very wild to watch. Now, right now, the market's starting to shift once again. We were more fearful. We're getting closer to neutral because of the fact that we saw a slight green day, at least for most tickers out there. So with the way things are looking, we'll have to see if the market can maintain structure to continue higher, and this could shift the fear and greed index more closer to like neutral in the center of that. Now, momentum is just neutral right now. We're approaching some key supports. We'll have to see if the market could hold up at these levels, and we'll be watching to see how this goes. Momentum is still in the middle. It's not extremely fearful. It's not like we're seeing pure capitulation or anything like that. So be careful when it comes to turning too bearish or too bullish. Just wait and see. On top of this, when it comes to the puts and call option positioning, fear started to kick in. And as soon as fear kicks in, we'll have to see if this causes a shift in the markets. Will the market start to rebound? A lot of people are starting to buy a crazy amount of puts. Will this continue to print, or are we about to see a shift? I'll talk about that in just a minute. And volatility is still at fear as the VIX has been breaking out. So far, it's holding up decently, but we're going to be watching some key support. So now let's just talk about the charts. What do I see for us moving forward? On SPY, so far, SPY has a nice double bottom. And we're going to be looking at structure right over here. If we break that 546 area, this is easily going to be flying up towards, in my opinion, not just 548, but at least 550 plus. That's their hourly 200 EMA. And there's a lot of potential for it to push a little higher if that breaks. Now, what is good about this is that when you go in the 4-hour time frame, we're getting a bullish cross in the BPO, but 546 is the key level to watch for. If that breaks, 550 is likely coming. So far, it favors that. However, if we were to hypothetically lose 542, we have this gap to fill all the way down to 539. So we're going to be watching to see, do we come down to fill the gap and then bounce, or do we dip a little bit and then try to bounce from there? It really depends if we hold 542. My prediction is this. Looking at the way this is looking, we might dip a little bit upon open. Then if we continue to get bought back up, we could continue to push quite nicely, in my personal opinion. The last couple of days, the market kind of got a little dip, then it got bought back up and it dipped again. Then on Friday, we saw the market actually pump quite a bit, then dip a little bit. So to me, it's looking like what's the most likely possibility is if we do get a little slowdown in the morning, this might just be a little liquidity grab for them to continue to push things higher, and odds favor the upside a little bit more. The odds are favoring SPY trying to break 546 and eventually pushing for 550. I favor that a little bit more in my personal opinion. But watch for confirmation. Can we break past 546? Can we break the highs from Friday to get that push? And watch the levels just to be safe in the other direction. But I favor upside a bit more. We might dip a little bit and start pushing. Watch for a break of 546 for 550. That's looking very probable for tomorrow. For Nvda, Nvidia is very, very range bound right now. We actually have been stuck in a range for quite some time. 3 days in a row, it's just been sideways price action. We have resistance to watch for at this 116 area and support at 112 and also around 108. I'm favoring that Nvidia is going to try to retest 116 and possibly break it to push for 118 plus. We have a nice looking structure right here, so I'll be watching to see if we get this nice push in the semiconductors. And AMD's earnings is going to be another big catalyst very soon. But I favor it. It might try to retest 116, maybe try to break through that. We'll watch and see if that ends up being the case, at least for now. Bitcoin got some bullish news over the weekend. We're currently at 68,000. And with the words that former President Trump has said, that's a very, very positive catalyst for Bitcoin. So I think that this could lead to another push in the crypto space, especially as we're looking more bullish right now, establishing a higher low, trying to push here. So this looks quite bullish. It looks like it's going to push at least towards 70,000. I think Bitcoin's going to see a little rally soon. This could actually help the markets as well. ES, okay, ES is looking pretty good right now. Got a nice looking structure. Look at the last day and a half, it actually just pumped and pumped and pumped. So if we break the high right here, the structure at 55.25, we're going all the way up towards 55.58, and that's going to push SPY or SPY higher. This looks pretty good to me, so it's favoring upside a little bit more, but watch for a break for confirmation. If we lose 54.70, we could be tipping all the way down towards lower levels, all the way back down towards 5400 flat. That's looking less probable. It's actually favoring a push higher into the 55.60s. That's looking a little bit more bullish to me. SPX looks pretty good. We have a double bottom like structure right here, but we have to break structure. We have to break past 54.90 around that area, 5500. If we break that, we're going up to fill this gap. Possibly we'll get very, very close to it. Excuse me. We have this trend line to watch for. There's no guarantee that's going to stop us, especially as we're approaching big tech earnings. Typically, there is some hype, some excitement. So I wouldn't be surprised if SPX tips a bit and tries pushing higher. So watch for that for confirmation. If we end up losing the 5400 area, I'll be concerned and there's going to be a risk of downside. If it breaks 5500, we turn bullish and we could fill this gap. I'm favoring a test of 5500 and we'll see if it breaks or not. But I think there's going to be a little bit more upside coming. For stocks like Tesla, let me just note that Tesla is very range bound. Okay, we have 225 as resistance. Okay, and we have support all the way down towards 215 and 212. So in my personal opinion, I think that if Tesla breaks 225, there's going to be a big push for 232. And if we lose 215, we'll be watching 212. If that fails us, I'll be looking for a move down to about 205. What's looking more favorable to me? I like the structure a little bit. I like the fact that we had this kind of like an inverse head and shoulders like structure, and the fact that we had this low here came up, made a higher low. So this looks like it might try to push higher for 225 all over again. I can't promise you if it's going to break because as of right now, we're just range bound, but this favors a test of that and possibly break. It's a possibility. Not going to promise it. I think we might test 225 and we'll have to see if that breaks or not, but there is upside potential in Tesla looking at this structure. So it's building some nice support right here. It dropped really hard after earnings. If we got a little bounce, that's going to be completely normal. Nothing out of the ordinary, in my personal opinion. For others out there like NQ, NQ is looking pretty good right here. And here's the reason why. When you zoom out and go all the way back like this, notice how we had this resistance right here. We had this trend line was resistance, rejected, rejected. We finally broke it during our rally. We broke through this only to reject back down. We've been riding the trend line since, and it kind of really likes to bounce off this trend line. So see how it kind of touched this, bounced, touched this, bounced, touched this, bounced, touched it, bounced. And now we're trying to come back up. So with this double bottom like structure, the fact that NQ is testing its 50 EMA is going to be a very, very key resistance, 19,250. If that breaks, we're going to be looking for 19,400 all over again. If it fails right here, we'll be looking for a dip back down towards 19,000 flat. Losing that turns us more bearish. But I'm favoring that the 4 hours looking a little bit more bullish. I think we're going to be looking for a test of 19,400 very soon. This is favoring upside a little bit more, looking at this liquidity grab and a nice reversal structure. So look for a little push on NQ, which is going to help to dictate the QQQ. QQQ is looking a little bit bullish on the 4 hour, but one thing that concerns me is the fact that this kind of has an inverse head and shoulders, but it hasn't gone to breakout yet. That's what concerns me specifically. We're just getting very tight on the triple Q. So if you look at this like this, you will see that we're just getting tighter and tighter and tighter, forming a wedge. Although the structure is favoring, it wants to push higher towards 466. I think we're going to likely test that soon. If we break 466, I'll be looking for a test of 468, then 470. But just know that the QQQ is not as strong as others out there, like the Russell 2000. So be careful with it. If we were to hypothetically lose 460, look for a move all the way down to 457 all over again. I don't favor that. I think that looking at the catalysts so far, as long as there's no bad news, this starts favoring more consolidation and possibly a break towards 468 plus. I think it might try to rebound a bit, especially because this is looking like an accumulation. So it's favoring a little bounce. We'll see if that ends up being the case or not if we break structure. Apple's also getting tighter. Apple has earnings, typically approaching earnings Apple likes to run. It depends if we can break past 220. If we break past 220, we get a breakout and we break 220, this thing is going to start pushing into like the mid 220s. If we end up failing, we lose 216, look for 214 all over again. As of right now, I think what's going to happen is we're going to consolidate for a bit on Apple and possibly get a break on one of the directions. Most likely the upside. I think that 220 will be tested, maybe a break higher. I favor that because of the fact that earnings is coming up and also because of the fact that see these wicks that are forming here. We're seeing buyers kind of defending. So buyers are trying to come back for Apple. They're trying to accumulate shares here, and they might actually run this up just a little bit. So it looks more favorable for Apple to push higher approaching tomorrow. We'll see if that ends up being the case. For Palantir, it looks more bullish. As of right now, it's favoring upside, especially on the hourly time frame, the bullish wedge that's forming. And on the 4 hour, we're favoring a push all the way up towards 27.56. If that breaks, I think we're going to be going all the way up towards 28.5. This is looking more bullish to me. It looks like it wants to bounce, just like the market. Supermicro is also trying to rebound right here on the 4 hour time frame. I think we might be looking for a test of 725 and eventually 740 all over again. This is favoring upside looking at the structure. For Rivian, Rivian is also looking a little bit more interesting to me. It's not getting a nice bounce yet, but it depends if we could hold structure here. If 16 holds, if we hold 16, look for a rebound towards 16.6. If we lose 16, we're going back down towards 15.6 at least, if not lower. With this nice 4 hour structure, this is favoring upside a bit more. The daily is also looking a little decent, so I would have to wait and see. But I think what could be happening is we could retest 16, then try to bounce off that and get the rebounds. I'll be watching if that ends up being the case because that's where the low was, and this is where it bounced off previously. So I think we might dip a little bit more on Rivian, then try to bounce. I don't think it's necessarily done quite yet. So look for a little dip and a bounce is the most likely possibility. 16, then a rebound after that. So far, it's looking pretty good. Nice inverse head and shoulders like structure is kind of consolidating right here. If we break this resistance, I'll show you what the level is right here. 7.5. I think this might start pushing all the way up to higher levels, like the higher 7.7, etc. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders, so I favor it's going to chop around a bit, then eventually start pushing up for 7.7. SoFi is looking a little bit more bullish to me. For the IWM, we look quite bullish now. We dipped a little bit only to rebound. We actually held support, so I think this is easily going to be pushing up towards 227, then eventually into the 230s. The Russell's looking bullish. Small caps are outperforming. I think we might be looking for some potential upside approaching August. We're looking pretty good in my personal opinion. AMD, so don't forget we have earnings coming up. So typically before earnings, we do see some some volatility, but just know that right now we're very tight. We're still kind of looking lackluster. I need to see it get back above at least 142 to start pushing it for 144. If we fail to do so, we're just kind of choppy, so it might chop around a little bit longer. Possibly get a bounce if we hold above 138. But like I said before, I'm not really liking it as much. We're going to likely consolidate and maybe try to rebound later on. For ARM, we have a nice double bottom like structure. It could try to rebound a bit towards 154 if we break past 150, but that depends if we can break 150. Look for a test of 150 tomorrow, see if it breaks or not. If it breaks, that we could push more. If not, it is what it is. But I see potential in it. For Coinbase, I think that we have a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure. We're seeing some buyers stepping in. And as long as we don't lose, so if we were to lose 238, look for the gap fill down to 235. And if we break past resistance at 244, we're easily going to fill this imbalance and go back up to the 250s. My gut is telling me with Bitcoin potentially running, Coinbase will follow the trend. We're going to be looking for a push all the way back up. So it's looking a little bit more bullish to me, especially if we end up breaking past the resistance at 244. I'll be looking for basically 248 and 250. Coin looks more bullish to me. Amazon has a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure, but we need to break past 184. So the first thing is break our 50 EMA around 182.5. We're actually at that right now. If that breaks, I'll be looking for 184. And then break that, then we turn bullish. I'll be looking for a run back up to 186. I like the structure, guys. I think Amazon has a very, very nice looking setup. The 4 hour is looking pretty good. We got to break that 184 resistance. Then I'll be looking for a push all the way up to these higher levels like 187 and beyond. So I'm seeing upside potential in Amazon. Hypothetically, if we were to lose, okay, 180, I'll be looking for 178 all over again. But looking at the technicals, so long as there's no bad news, this chart is favoring that it wants to push before earnings towards 187. For Meta has a very similar, almost identical looking setup. I like the structure that's developing on it, and I'm seeing a lot more buyers stepping in. To me, it looks like Meta is going to try to push a little bit higher. As long as we try to break past resistance around 470, I think we could be going all the way up towards almost 474, if not 480. So I see some more upside potential for it. If we were to hypothetically lose support right here, around the 460 area. Then we have a gap to fill down here towards 454, excuse me. So this is favoring upside. It looks like it wants to be pushing to at least the 470s. I think I favor upside on this chart looking at the setup. As long as there's no bad news, this favors upside from technicals. For Microsoft, we favor upside a little bit more, but the thing is, I haven't seen it break for confirmation yet. I need to see it break past 430 tomorrow or within the next few days before earnings to start pushing up towards 435. If we fail and we end up losing like 420, 423 basically, we can easily start dipping back down towards 420. There's a nice double bottom like structure, and there is more upside potential in this. So I'll have to see if this breaks. I think there's a very, very good chance that that could end up being the case. But with earnings approaching, just be very careful with this. Know we have a good structure, so I do favor upside. We'll have to wait and see just to be safe. For Google, Google has a nice kind of like inverse head and shoulders like structure, but like I said before, there's no sign of a bounce yet. At least let's see this break past 170 to get to 172, eventually 174. It's kind of tight right now, not really doing much. And if we were to hypothetically lose 166, I'll be looking for 162. My guts tells me with the inverse head and shoulders, I favor a move back up towards the 170s. Google has a lot more potential in my opinion. For a few more, we have GameStop. GameStop's on a bit of an uptrend right here. But there is one concern I have. This could be forming kind of like a head and shoulders. Might try to push a little bit towards our 50 EMA towards 24. And if we reject, we'll be coming back down towards a big move back down. If we break past the 24s, 24.6, if we break that, look for a push up higher. So I think we're going to push a little bit towards 24.5 to 24.6 and see if we reject or not. For AMC, we're kind of consolidating right now. Might retest 5.11. If we hold that, look for a rebound. If we don't, look for a rejection. This looks like it could become a symmetrical structure, so it favors maybe a dip and a bounce. We'll see if that ends up being the case for AMC. There is potential for it to bounce. DJT is trying to rebound a bit. We got to try to break past 31.5. If that breaks, look for 33. There's more potential upside with this bullish wedge, so it looks more bullish to me on DJT. For the VIX, it looks to me like the VIX is kind of starting to dip, especially since we have this gap down here. So we're going to have to wait and see, does the VIX end up bouncing or not? I see kind of like a bearish wedge forming. So this is favoring a move back down towards the 15s. I think the VIX might dip a little bit just based off technicals. The 10 years also starting to dip a little bit. So this could be bullish for the markets. And then finally, the dollar index. We had an inverse head and shoulders, but the thing is the dollar has not been able to kind of break out so far. The right shoulder is being extended. And if you just kind of ignore that pattern, look at what's happening right now, we're actually forming like head and shoulders. So it depends. If we end up losing 104, then the dollar is going to turn bearish and this will be bullish for the markets. If we break past 104.5, we could turn back to bullish on the dollar. That would be bearish for the markets. I'm waiting to see. It's kind of hard for me to tell you because look at what's been happening for the last few days. Just straight up consolidation. There's no sign of a break or direction. So we have to be more patient and give this some more time. Anyways, that is it for my video. I want to thank you all so much for listening. I hope you guys have an absolutely spectacular rest of the day. The market has upside potential, but watch and see if we break particular levels for us to go even higher. As of right now, I do favor upside a bit more, but we'll have to wait and see just to be safe. We'll see if we get a little dip and a bounce, or if we just start pushing as soon as Monday. Typically, approaching earnings in FOMC, there is a little bit of hype, so there might be some for these big earnings. So we'll see how things go. With that being said, enjoy your guys' weekend, enjoy the rest of Sunday, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one, tomorrow before the market opens. Thank you, and peace out.